All right, are y'all ready for this value? I'm literally about to drop some stuff that literally nobody talks about. I am a huge advocate for continuous learning. So even though I am a Facebook ads expert in my field, I definitely have spent enough and generated enough for our clients to consider myself an expert. I think that word is so like randomly used at times, but I would say that I am very experienced in the field. So, and what I still do every month is I always buy almost every Facebook ads course there is, because I always want to see if I can improve by 1%. What is it that I can take from this person's course? Even though obviously most courses teach you how to do the basics and whatever, I still go ahead and purchase these courses because I want to continuously improve myself. And what I've noticed is none of these courses talk about one of the most important numbers or terms in a sense when it comes to Facebook ads, and it's CPM. So what is that anyways? So let's go through that. So CPM is cost per mil. Mil is 1,000. So CPM is cost for 1,000 impressions. And what does that even mean, impressions? You know, so impressions is the time your ad is shown. That doesn't distinctly mean 1,000 people. It can be less if a person saw your ad more than once. This just means that your ad was shown 1,000 times. So let's say you have a billboard and I drove in front of it. That's an impression. If I drove in front of it again, you still reach that one person, which is me, but you have 2 impressions because I saw it twice. So that's what impression means. So what is it costing you to be in front of your audience 1,000 times? So, and this varies per industry. Some industries have like a CPM of like $10, basically $1 to reach 100 people, $10, you reach 1,000 impressions. That's exactly what I want to talk about today, is CPM and how to lower it. So every audience or every store online performs in one of 2 different ways. And this is through my experience, and you need to find kind of like the sweet spot of where to keep your ads at when it comes to targeting. So when it comes to Facebook ads, everybody wants to super hyper target, like let me like break down this audience, age, device, blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, you can do that, but is that really the best way to go? In my experience, in some industries, if you constrict Facebook on what to do too much, then guess what? They're gonna just charge you more for it. So like, why would you wanna do that? So CPM is a very important number to keep track of, because that will kind of give you a gauge of what Facebook is charging you to show your ad 1,000 times. So if CPM is going up and your return is going up, then that's okay, because you know that you're showing your ad less times, but it's higher quality times. But if your CPM is going up and your results are staying the same, that's when there's room to change. Or even if they're going worse, that means that not only are you paying more to reach 1,000 people, but your results are staying the same. So like, why would you want to pay more to get something that is equally the same? So let's say I'm buying a car and Ben's buying a car, and it's the same exact car, and I got quoted 10 grand and Ben got quoted 15. In that case, why would Ben buy that car? Same thing with you and your competitors. CPM is bid on between you and the people that are bidding on the same interests and impressions. That's why it's super important to build your own data, because then you won't have to be bidding on the same stuff. So, because Facebook's a business, they're gonna favor whoever wants to pay more for the same thing. But then again, you as a business, you have to negotiate and lower the CPM to get the same thing as everybody else, but for a cheaper price. There's 2 ways to go about this, and every business is different, so you have to find your own version of this. So Facebook can be a very broad audience or a very narrow audience. There is a space in between this, and every business has a spot on this line that I consider to be the sweet spot. And the reason I set up every single one of my campaigns with a control audience that doesn't include any interests, however, it has a detailed targeting expansion on. And if you don't know what that is, feel free to go watch our course. It's free on YouTube. Again, we're not charging anything for this course. It's a full breakdown, like a beginner's guide, but there's definitely some golden nuggets that some experts out there could find beneficial. So there is somewhere along this spectrum that you are gonna find the sweet spot where CPM is cheap and your results are high. So not only are you focusing on results here, but you're also focusing on brand development, because the more times your ad is shown, the more times it's just a concept of like, the more you're out there, the more people are gonna know about you, the bigger your business is gonna get. I mean, when you think about Geico, I'm sure Geico has hit me with at least 100 impressions over my past 5 years of being in the United States. So like, Geico is absolutely killing it because they focus on impressions to the level now where even if Geico stops advertising, people will always recall their name because of how many times they've increased that number to, pretty much. So start with a control audience, and obviously you have your narrow audiences. Find your way along this spectrum. If you notice with your control that your CPM is, let's say, 10 bucks, right? And then here you have an interest, here you have your age, here you have your device, and obviously there's a lot you can go into it, so I'm just gonna name them here so we can kind of go through it. So let's say interests, because that's the first thing you want to test, age, and then you have device, let's say. So there's a million things, but I'm just going to use these three as an example. So you have your control audience, which everything is blank. You have your interest audience, which is a slightly more narrow version of the control audience because obviously you're targeting an interest. So let's say here you have a $10 CPM, and you notice after running your ads for about a week that the interest is getting $8 CPM. So basically you're bidding, and mind you, sometimes the control audience is the best one because this is more expensive. The interest might be more expensive even though the results are the same. So if the results are the same, you obviously want to pay less and reach more people. So, but in this scenario, interest is better. So perfect. Now we see that our ads budget should be trending towards a more narrow audience. So let's say we format the ads to target different age groups. And you find an age group that has a CPM of $6 consistently. So perfect, you're still on the right track. Let's say now when you split it by device or by placement or by whatever, now your CPM is back up to $9. See? So you basically found your sweet spot along the spectrum right here. So here is where you want to be at because here you are reaching the most people for the cheapest cost. You're showing your ad the most times for the cheapest cost. And again, you see how important this is. So why is this not talked about in the industry? Because here in this scenario, in this certain scenario, would you rather pay $10 to show your ad 1,000 times, or would you rather pay $12 to show your ad 2,000 times? With this $6 CPM, so 6 times 2, you're reaching 2,000 people. 2,000 impressions on your ad. So your ad is being shown 2,000 times. Again, and it's just the way you say it is impressions versus reach, and reach is people, impressions is times shown. So a lot of times the language gets mixed up, but pretty much the concept is 2,000 times your ad is shown. So if your ad got shown less than 2 times on average to each person, then here you paid $2 more and you reached way more people and you showed your ad twice as many times. So that's your sweet spot. So if this was me and I had to pick this on a $50 a day budget or $100 a day budget or $1,000 a day budget, I would pick this every time because over time this accumulates. You see what I'm saying? So here we doubled the time our ad is shown for only an additional 20% of expenses. So that's definitely the way to go, in my opinion. And over time, once this accumulates, guess what? You're building brand recognition. People are knowing your name more. They've seen your ad multiple times, yada, yada. So that's a concept. But instead, if this was $10 and as soon as you started targeting, this became 12, you tested your age just to see that this is not a fluke, and this turned to 20 bucks, guess what? The broader your audience, the better your ads are doing. So nothing is wrong with using a control audience as your main source of sales when it comes to Facebook ads, because at the end of the day, your product may be for everybody. You know what I mean? Your product may be something that people want and not need. And guess what? A lot of people in a broad audience wanted your product. So that's definitely the way to go. I really think that people should be thinking more about CPM, how to increase and how to lower the cost of CPM. So track if it's increasing is what I mean, as well as learn how to lower the cost per CPM through a spectrum right here. So remember, what Facebook is charging you to reach your audience is based on your audience, not your ad. So your ad is meant to lower your cost per click, which is also another super important concept. So once you match a strategy where you're lowering your cost per mil and you're lowering your cost per click, guess what? You are showing your ad to more people. And if you're looking at a same ratio to ratio, more people are clicking on your website. For, mind you, not only is there more people clicking because your reach is up, there are more people clicking because you lowered your cost per click. And now, if you increase that audience and lower the cost per click, you're pretty much winning the game. That's what you're doing, is you're totally destroying your competition when it comes to bidding on the Facebook ads, which in terms, if your website is set up the right way, will lead into a big old bag of cash, is pretty much what's going to happen. So again, think about CPM, and if you are a Facebook ads expert or you run Facebook ads consistently, and if you are a Facebook ads expert and you run your ads consistently and you have a course, why aren't you talking about this, man? Why aren't you mentioning this to your audience who you're trying to help run some ads? I explained this simple concept to one of my students, and he took his ads from being unprofitable to profitable, just like that, over a number that nobody even talks about. So again, get to work, guys, and make sure to look at your CPM. Put that in your columns. Super important number.